Galatians chapter 6 says, "Be not weary in well-doing." For God will provide fruit in due season. In Micah chapter 6, the Israelites were weary, and they were tired of the things of the Lord. And they were complaining against God. They were weary with the things that today we would be challenged to be steadfast in and continue steadfast. The apostles' doctrine, the teaching, the heralding, the proclaiming of the Word of God, the apostles' doctrine, the fellowship, the love feasts, things of pertaining to fellowship, the breaking of bread, because that's the one time we have to assemble together. That's the one thing we can't do at home. It's an assembly to take the Lord's Supper. And of course, the prayers. And in Micah chapter 6, verse 6, they were complaining and they were tired of going through all those things. And the reason they were tired of them is that they had turned them into a ritual. You see, beloved, if we don't have the love of Christ in our heart, then anything we do for Him really becomes meaningless. And it becomes a ritual. And so the prophet Micah is contending with these Israelites. And here's what they were saying in Micah 6:6. "With what shall I come before the Lord and bow myself before the high God? Shall I come before Him with burnt offerings, with calves a year old? Will the Lord be pleased with thousands of rams, 10,000 rivers of oil? Shall I give my firstborn for my transgression, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul?" You can see that it went well beyond sarcasm. And to think that they even threw an abomination in there. The Lord would never require the sacrifice of somebody, a body. You know, our bodies are to be living sacrifices. And, you know, when I read this, I thought God is just going to strike them down for that kind of attitude. And yet I'm amazed how God is a God that reasons and He forbears, and He's a God of second chances sometimes. And He was patient with Israel. He was patient even though they were blasphemous. And the answer comes back in verse 8. "He has shown you, O man, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? 3 things: to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God." Be just, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God. That's what the Lord requires.